time and money to get the education.
Right. Like you said, talk to someone in that field. Try to get to know someone in that field and see if they'll let you even experience a day in their life, by, take someone to school to work with you day and let them observe what you do every day to see if that's something they want to do. Because we all know people who have spent years and years and years in school to get out and realize that that's not really what they want to do. Mm-hmm. And they have this huge debt that they have to pay for something that they're not even interested in.
Right.
Yeah. So I like this conversation. I know, like I said, it's not our usual, but I wanted to bring this to the table because this is something so important and it's affecting so many of us. Everyone can think of someone who is in financial debt because of college. Everyone knows someone who is struggling because they need to overcome their debt. And it's not people all the time who your usual suspects. We're talking about doctors. We're talking about attorneys. We're talking about all different aspects of a professional life where they're heavily in debt because of the choices they make. Now, granted, some of these professions pay well enough that you can afford to pay that large loan back or that $150,000 or $200,000 loan back, but some professions don't. Mm-hmm. So check out what you're trying to do and what the pay scale is for that job before you maybe choose the school to go to or the amount of debt you get yourself into. I think that's a part of the message of this conversation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there's so many, doing my research, I came across so many different ways you can become educated online that are either, free or very low cost. My wife made me aware of the website called Coursera. Mm-hmm. It's a website that really allows you to take some of the top classes for free. And you can get actually, I believe some kind of certificate or something for free. So there's so many different ways to really explore a certain area, a certain field without paying a whole lot of money or no money.
Right. Before you get into it.
It may be something that really helps you get into a job. You can explore it before you really put down the money. Think of it, it's an investment in your future. Make sure you make the right investment. You're not going to invest in a stock that's plummeting. You want to invest in a stock that's going up.
That's right.
That's how you see your future.
See your education. And understand that, you are creating debt. Mm-hmm. And so you want to be on the other end able to pay that debt because, like you said, 6 months after you get out of school, they knock on your door.
Right.
A letter comes in the mail and it says, "Hi, glad you graduated. Mm-hmm. Pay us back." Mm-hmm. And we don't care whether you have a job or not. We want our money.
Right. Exactly.
So make some wise choices is another message here.
I guess we all have to be financial analysts now to really figure this
thing
out.
Yes, I agree. A financial analyst is someone you need to have while you're filling out your paperwork to make sure you can afford it at the end.
They should require financials every time you apply for a loan. They should be there to advise you.
That's right. That's a good tip.
Hey, that's an idea.
That's right. Financial analysts beware. Here come the students, right?
There we go. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what advice would you give someone just going into college, or 3 pieces of advice? I want you to give someone advice. One piece of advice you give them who are students going into college. Mm-hmm. What piece of advice would you give them?
The best piece of advice would be to really understand what you want to do.
Okay.
Really understand the inside and out. And then next, choose the right institution.
Right.
Those 2 things will make your life a lot easier going forward. The days of exploring what you want to do in college are gone.
Yes.
You can, if you have disposable money you just want to throw out there. Most people don't.
That's right.
So it's really good to put a lot of thought prior to going in and signing legal binding documents to what you want to do.
Right. And then for the person who has already gotten themselves into debt, what one piece of advice would you give them?
Be consistent and try to pay down and manage your debt and make sure it's something that's in your budget, and just consider it's just a daily cost of living, and don't look at it as an extra cost, because that's like you would pay your car. We don't think about not paying our car or paying our car note or our house note. It's just something we pay. Right. I think that's the best way to look at it. And if you do have the private loans, pay those first.
Okay. And then they can always call you, because that's what I would say. Call your company, College Debt Solutions. Get a hold of you. So what is that number again, so that you can direct them through the correct way to deal with the debt if they haven't handled it correctly already?
Yeah, I'll just send it to my My email is but customer service at collegedebtsolution.com.
Right. So if you can't figure it out, that's a place that you can be helped. And I want to thank you again, Troy, for coming in and talking to us about this very serious subject and how it can be managed, because it can be managed. The good news is it can be managed. That is the good news,
yes.
you know. Whether you're already in debt, don't get discouraged, because there's a way out, you know, and you can manage it. And I think one of the biggest pieces of information is, if you can avoid private loans, avoid them.
Right.
And if you have them, pay attention to them,
Right.
and take care of those first. We're not saying not to pay your government loans also, but to take care of the private loans first, because those are the ones that are the most detrimental and the most harmful to your credit. Those are the ones where they will take money out of your account. They will garnish your wages up to 15%. And that's a large amount of money to come out of. And this is until the debt is paid.
Right.
They're not just going to take the 15%, you know, to catch you up on payments. This is until the debt is paid. So be careful of that. Be very careful of that. And for those who are in that situation where they're having their wages garnished, or they are in default on a loan, is there any advice you can give them?
Wow, I've had a few people ask me that. It's a very tough situation. You really have to try to negotiate with the lender. You can hire an attorney and see if they can write a letter for you saying, look, you know, I will pay it. Here's what I can pay, and try to, via the attorney, hopefully negotiate something. I don't necessarily, if they have to do this before they go into having their wages garnished and like that, they can if they need to. I'm not advocating this, but filing bankruptcy does freeze it for a certain period of time. It doesn't wipe it out, but it will freeze it for a certain period of time and give you time to figure out what you want to do. So that's an extreme last resort. Try to negotiate with a lender. Use a lawyer. Those are cheaper options that have less impact. But if you can't, it's better than them dogging you and taking money out of your account, because that's hard to reverse.
Right. Wow. Well, you're listening to Lunch with the Finance Bunch. I'm Miss Charliine, and we're here with Troy Seeley, and we're talking about college debt and some of the things you can do to get out of it, and a lot of things you can do prior to getting into debt. Some of the things you should think about, some of the things your parents could help you think about if you're a young student, and if you are, someone returning to school. This is great information. I know anyone who is already in debt, I know they wish they heard this information before they got in debt. So this is excellent information for us to have, and I thank you, because, this is invaluable.
No, thank you very much.
Definitely. And like you said, you got into this field because you got into so much debt yourself in school. When people meet in school, they think, okay, we're of like mind. That's true, but it's also two people coming into a situation who are in debt. And that's a careful consideration we have to make when we are, making choices of schools to go to, and what our exit plan is for when we get out of school. Some people might not have the luxury of taking that 6 months to kind of look around and see what they want to do, because here comes the bill.
Exactly. It's a really big responsibility to put on an 18-year-old kid to really sign these legal documents and really try to figure out what their future will be. You wouldn't have an 18-year-old buy a house or a car, but yet you have them take on this large amount of debt.
That's very true. That's very true. You wouldn't. And if they did, they would have to prove that they were financially sound and able to take on the debt, and how they would pay it. The whole situation would be, handled differently if it were a home or a car.
Yes.
You're absolutely right. And you're saying that, if it were a house or a car, they would make sure that the person acquiring the debt had credit established up front. Right?
Right.
So here we are going into car debt, homeowner's debt, really, in a lot of cases, an 18-year-old, a 20-year-old going into that type of debt. And usually, with the way our economy is, a lot of the jobs just don't add up to what you're spending on your education. So first rule of thumb, I loved what you said, and I agree with this wholeheartedly. If the income that you make the first year doesn't cover the amount of debt you're getting into for college, just take heed, because you may be getting into more debt than you can handle. So for example, if the college you're going to, the total tuition is $50,000. If your first year's income does not meet or exceed $50,000, you may be creating more debt than you'll be able to pay off in a reasonable amount of time.
Right.
And for some of us, 10 years is what they gauge as the amount of time you'll be spending paying off college debt. So 10 years or more. Mm-hmm. So be very careful when signing those documents to understand what you're signing yourself up for.
And keep in mind, when you say those 10 years, that when you have 10 years to pay it off, whatever you don't pay gets discharged automatically. And whatever you don't pay and what gets discharged is assumed as debt on your taxes. So if you discharge $25,000, and that's now viewed as income on your taxes when it's discharged.
Right.
So you really got to be aware of that going into it.
Okay, because please say that again, because I think that could go over someone's head. Please explain that.
So if you owe $20,000-$30,000 at the end, and at the end of 10 years you owe, if you finish paying 20 and you owe 10, mm-hmm. whatever is discharged will be tacked on and your taxes as income, taxable income.
Wow. So it's like you were paid and you weren't. And so that's not good.
No. A lot of people don't know that part.
That's a very interesting point. I didn't know that part.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You gotta be really careful with that. People are like, ooh, I don't have to pay it. No, you have to pay something on it.
Yeah.
They get something out of you for that money. It's not for free.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
This is probably one of my most quiet sessions. This is definitely you and the insurance guy. Quiet. It scared everybody, so no, but this is important information, and it's some information we have to face. And that's why I wanted you to come in, and I want you to come back and talk to us more, give us little tidbits of things we can do along the way, mm-hmm. and how I can help the listeners understand this debt and how not to get so entangled in it. And if they are, how to help them, get out of it. Because we talk about wealth building. Mm-hmm. And so I, support our entrepreneurs. I want our small businesses to succeed and, people in general. And so when you're trying to create wealth, the last thing you want is debt, mm-hmm. Especially this type of debt. And so you have to go into it calculatingly, mm-hmm. Make sure that the debt that you get into, that you can see your way out of.
Exactly.
So that you don't become discouraged.
Exactly. Yes. Thank you very much for allowing me to come on the show and share my knowledge about my experience and knowledge about college debt. I look forward to coming back again and sharing more information about college debt.
Yes, and I want you to watch this taping and review it and see if we left anything out, okay. And then we come back and let's talk about it, because like I said, we're all learning at the same time. That's why I love doing this show, mm-hmm. because we're all learning at the same time. We're all learning, what is good debt, what's bad debt, what are the things we should do to build wealth. Mm-hmm. I interview everyone, so I want people to make an educated decision always.
Okay.
So please promise me you'll come back.
I will. Absolutely. Thank you.
This is wonderful. And so we're talking to Troy Seeley. This is Lunch with the Finance Bunch, and we're talking about college debt, something that every family faces at one point or another. And in doing that, we want you to make the most educated choices you can in facing this debt. And if you're on the other side of it and you're already in debt, don't get discouraged. Just know what you need to do. Devise a plan to get out of it and focus some of your income ongoing to getting out of this debt, because it's not going to go away. And I think that's a big point that we made here today. You can't bury your head in the sand. You have to realize this debt is going to be with you until you do something about it.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
I'm Charliane. This is Lunch with the Finance Bunch. And I thank all my listeners for listening. We try to educate you. So you can also listen to us on www.acceleratedradio.net/ARP. And we're here every Friday at noon from 12 to 1. And you can look us up on YouTube, Lunch with the Finance Bunch. You can see this over and over again. You can replay it, tweet it, send little parts of it to your friends and family. This is one not to miss, because it's very important. We applaud higher education. We support higher education, but what we don't support is higher debt. What we want to do is keep the debt low, the education high, and that equals success to me.
Right.
Yeah. So I like this conversation, and I want to see you back.
Thank you.
Real soon.
I look forward to it.
Definitely. Now, in closing, please give us that information for your website again.
Yeah, the website is www.collegedebtsolution.com. And the best way to reach me is at customerservice@collegedebtsolution.com.
And he said he'll help. So take him up on it. His name is Troy Seeley, and he's here to help us get out of a situation that we're already in, or give us some advice on, on not getting into this type of debt. Definitely. Okay, and you can also reach us. Please watch on YouTube and subscribe to my YouTube channel and see all of our past episodes, different things that we talk about. And this is Miss Charliine, Lunch with the Finance Bunch.